Hey, everybody, welcome to the Unconventional Therapist Guide to Nothing. My name is Dave. I'm joined here with my co host, Greg, and we have an action packed, thrilling, edge of your seat episode today.
As always.
As always, every episode is just like, you know, I don't even know what to say about it, actually. It's a roller
Just,
coaster ride, really.
I mean, it can be. And the excitement from all the new questions that I just, for whatever reason, can't help but just answer through text message, knowing that we're supposed to answer them online. But Dave has reprimanded me privately, and that's what you're supposed to do, punish in private.
Punish in private.
Appreciate that. Um, but yeah, Dave, you know what? I'm gonna skip ahead of you and shout out our new Patreon member,
Go ahead. I wish you would.
Annalyn. Annalyn Hachani. Hopefully I got that right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you, Adeline.
Yeah.
We
So what do you
appreciate
got?
you.
What was this question that I jacked up?
Okay, so our on IG, Catherine, one of our followers on IG, asked the question: "What's your take on AI therapy? Can technology actually support mental health?" So Greg did offer a response to Catherine, even
Catherine's all
though
set. She
literally it says
knows how
in
I
the
feel.
question it will be on the next episode, and this is the second time this has happened, but that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, you know how I am, Dave. I wanna. It's not. I'm not all over social media. That's for damn sure. But I like to. I have my opinions and I have them right away. But it's a unbelievably great question. I wonder if part of it is because I know Catherine is has mentioned that if this is the Catherine I'm thinking of, that she's going to be a therapist, or if not already is. Um, and it's like part of it might be the question of like job security, right? In a sense.
I think that's part of it, but
Hmm.
this is interesting because this is actually something there's like multiple ways to answer this question, multiple ways to look at this question. And also,
Yeah.
I think like remember last week Phoebe's question was like, has any of your views on things like anything changed? I actually think I'm starting to change my view on AI's usefulness within the realm of therapy, but for a specific type. So, where I found it helpful is I've had a few people that I've interacted with recently tell me that they used AI to basically get some information on some symptoms they were having, and they found it helpful because it kind of led them into the direction of like self exploration. And from
Hmm.
there, that's opened up their ability to be able to seek someone to talk to. So I actually thought it was like helpful in the way that maybe people are able to gain some basic understanding of themselves or gain a little curiosity about themselves, and maybe that will kind of like motivate them to want to talk to someone. I don't think it's super helpful to rely on it.
I think, Dave, you need to rent Terminator 2 and
Oh,
just get
trust me,
back on
I am
get back on.
totally no, I am totally that person
It,
that thinks
it,
it's going to take over the world.
yeah, in terms of usefulness for us, okay, and usefulness for Catherine, yeah, maybe for helping to take notes. This happened in session. Fucking wrap this up. Or, and I wouldn't even do that. But here's the thing for me. I was just talking with someone, in relationships, right? The reason you get certain things out of relationships. If you were like, if when I ask like the young kids that I've worked with in the past, like especially in schools, like what's important about your relationship? Oh, like there's someone that I can tell about my day. There's someone that I could share intimate moments with. There's someone that um I'm not lonely, it's companionship. There's all these little things. And then I say, oh, that's what's meaningful about the relationship. Okay. So what happened? Are you okay with them cheating on you? And they say, no, of course not. That's like a crazy thing to ask. And I'm like, well, why? You can still have all those exact things you just mentioned. And they like it confuses them and it stuns them a little bit because what would be missing then is the most meaningful thing in the relationship is the realness. And I think that to wrap that around to AI, it's like I mentioned to Catherine, a Carl Rogers very Rogerian idea is that when someone starts to begin that someone is genuinely trying to listen to them and understand them, they feel um, like healing can begin then. But AI will never be this genuine sort of empathetic. They don't share the same human experience, so it's kind of difficult for. a screen to empathize with you. And when it does, you're going to be creating the same thing that we've talked about in the past where I'm way more connected with people now that I'm on the internet, but are you? Or are you, do you, is it the illusion that you're more connected with people and you're actually as isolated as you've ever been? It's just like this scary, like the idea of healing will change a great deal if people rely solely on AI and there will be no healing, right?
Right.
I think.
Yeah. So yeah, so, I mean, I think we're both kind of saying the same thing. I don't think AI uh, can really replace person to person therapy. I think it can be helpful in
Mhm.
some early stages of gathering information for yourself. But you also have to be very careful with how you receive that information and understand that it is gleaming from however many sources it pulls from at a time. And sometimes the responses are not completely accurate. And yeah, I've seen that with just like searches on AI of non like therapy related things. And it's like, oh, that's not correct. So you have to imagine what that would be like for the human experience, where there are so many variables. But also, Greg pointed out, like, I know a lot of our colleagues are using them for notes and things like
Yeah,
that. I don't do that. I don't use AI at all, really.
neither do I.
So I'm just not there yet. And then I think we're going to have to look at some point about the HIPAA standards if we are having AI listen to therapy notes or be aware of our like giving information, personal information of individuals to AI to create our notes. That seems like that could have some issue.
I think so. Yeah, I think like letting something in or everything into the conversation, and depending on how you look at it. It's funny because, we are to be talking about perfectionism today, and it's like maybe the reason why humans are never going to be perfect. We'll get into that, I'm sure. But like, is it can we not relate to AI because AI is essentially has all the answers and that's oh, does it have all the answers? Are there answers? It's just such a confusing thing. Um, I think the danger of AI is the sense that this thing has the answers that you need. And then when you think you have the answers and you act based on those answers, you might be your behavior might be driven by something that's completely off base
Dude, I
because
just
not
figured it out. What
yeah.
I just kind of along the way you just started that sentence, you literally just answered this question. Our role is not to answer people's problems.
Uh-huh.
Our role is not to provide the answer. Our role is to guide people to the answer that's already within them. They have all the answers. We're
The
guiding them
Dorothy
to it.
effect.
If
Yes.
you're going to AI, you are going to AI for answers, and therefore it is not going to be as effective as the role of an individual who's guiding you to those answers that are already within you. Because that's how change actually happens. You have to come to the conclusion yourself. We just talked about that last week with self determination theory. If you're just told what to do, you're not going to
Dave.
ever feel fully fulfilled. So essentially, I think that's it. I think that's why AI therapy is, in my opinion, won't be as effective, is because it is providing answers in a field that we're not supposed to really be providing answers. We can give information, we can give education, but we're not supposed to be telling people the answer to their problems.
Yeah, and I think that's wow, it's such a societal problem too. Think about it in terms of like raising children. If you give them all the answers and take away their ability to figure things out for themselves, you're robbing them of so much. You're robbing them of autonomy and this the sense of like being able to do things on their own, which essentially will it just limits them forever. And so we're going to create a group of people, all people who are unable to figure out their issues on their own, who will rely on something to figure out every issue that they have. And what is this something? This thing on the screen to get not to get conspiratorial again, but like
Yeah.
where are those answers coming from? It's the answers someone else wants you to have.
Oh my God, Greg. I think you might be onto something. AI is on a mission to create morons.
Yes, dude.
I can't
Yeah.
believe you just
There's
said
two
that. That's
already right
crazy.
here. We're already morons. So
Holy crap.
we're immune.
You'll never get us, AI.
Yeah. Oh boy. Anyways, Catherine, I hope that
We're
that
sorry.
helps. Yeah.
We're very
Yeah.
sorry for that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you should have job security. Yeah. You have our job.
Well, you definitely
Anyways.
don't have competition here. So
Oh God. All right. So let's get into the episode today, Dave. What do you think?
let's do it.
All right. So what is perfect? We're talking about perfectionism today. The perfect version of you should I don't think it's a bad thing to like people it could get such a bad name perfectionism, but in a sense like the perfect version of you, this perfect thing that you want to be in your mind should drive your behavior a little bit. But with the caveat of understanding that you're never really going to end up there. So when sailors would guide their ships with constellations or people would follow the North Star like we talked about last time, you don't ever expect to get to the constellation, right? It just kind of drives your behavior towards something. And Dave, this on Christmas time, I gave you Ben Franklin's little book of virtues, and he has all these virtues, and he talks about how every day he would, you know, give this sort of like self-reflection and ask himself like how did I live up to these 13 values today that I set out to be? And he never did. Never did in his whole life. And then at the
Mhm.
end of his life he said, "Yeah, you know what? I never made up or made it to my own ideal, but because I was trying, I was a better person for it. I would have never became the Ben Franklin I am had it not been for me trying to live up to an idea of what I could be, which is different um, than perfection, I guess. A drawback of perfectionism obviously is that um, it can make you miss the things that are there. Like if you spend your whole life trying to be this perfect version of yourself, and you might not see what how you are is already perfect in a way. Like the way I've heard it described, Dave, is like you ever go outside and like the sky's all pink and
Never
like
gone, never seen that. No,
okay, geez, it's always nope, never been outside.
no. Pink
So
skies.
Dave's never been
What?
outside. So let's see if there's if the
What?
audience
Do you
out there might.
know? Do you know why the sky's pink?
No.
It's reflection. The sky's reflecting off of flamingos.
Okay. Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Really? Even way up here.
even way up there.
Okay, all right. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah,
So when the sky's reflecting off of flamingos and you're driving your car and you see that the sky is all pink and beautiful, you would never say, "Oh, wow, I think it needs a little bit more amber around the sun." You would just look at it and say, "It's perfect" or "It's
yeah.
beautiful." You wouldn't try to like figure out what else it needs, and we weirdly do that to ourselves, you
Do
know?
you, Greg? Do you think of what else you need?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm a work in progress for sure.
Are you,
You
would
know?
you consider yourself a perfectionist?
No.
No.
I don't think so. Why would you consider me a perfectionist?
It wouldn't have
Because I can
surprised
do
me if
better.
you said yes, and I would have said you're failing big time. I'm definitely not. I'm definitely not a
Yeah, no,
perfectionist
no.
at all.
I
But I
I
know a lot. I'm sure you know you've probably worked with a decent amount of perfectionists.
sure. Absolutely. And it's when we see perfectionism, I'm actually glad you brought this up. When it's from a clinical standpoint, we could be talking about not OCD. We did a great episode on OCD. I really enjoyed the episode on OCD, and I think it's great for people who are dealing with it. And we've gotten some good feedback on it.
Hmm.
And that's OCD. Sometimes people kind of mix that up with perfectionism, but obsessive compulsive personality disorder, would be a little bit closer. Neither a true perfectionist, but I think it's a lot closer. Like with OCD, this is like unwanted, intrusive, anxiety-causing compulsions, where OCPD is a personality disorder. So the people with OCPD aren't like it's not ego dystonic. They that's just who
Yeah.
they are, right? They feel like they don't have that thing in their brain that says, "You know what? That's just right. That's
I
good."
I have an example of how I know you're not a perfectionist. It just kind of dawned on me
Okay, go ahead, shoot.
because I'll be like, "Hey, Greg, I I don't I
Okay,
might be
go
a few
ahead.
minutes late," and you're like, "Oh, you want to just do it tomorrow? Forget it. Just do it tomorrow." Or hey, let's just throw up a repeat episode.
Yeah,
A
yeah.
perfectionist would
Oh
be
yeah, no.
like, perfectionist would be like, "That's unacceptable, Dave. We got to be on time."
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And be all stressed out about it. or like we have to do, I think both of us would probably benefit from a little bit of perfectionism
Yeah.
thrown into the
Yeah.
mix. But yeah, no, neither of us would fit into that category.
No, and just to like completely, yeah, clear that up, an OCPD person I guess the essential difference is the awareness, right? There's no awareness of this being a flaw, the perfectionism. It's like other people see it and not you. Um, it's funny, like we actually share, you have one, if there's, say it's a relationship, you have one piece and I have the other piece. And one piece is a perfectionist and what we did, I don't know, I might have mentioned this before because I thought it was kind of genius, but I made him get a fish tank and try to keep that world perfect so he could like use that outlet, but also he could at the same time see you can't keep this little tiny world
Oh, it
perfect.
just dawned on me who we were talking about. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And actually, we've done some great work. Hopefully, that's
So if
like,
we're talking about the same person, they just recently had a child.
yes.
Okay. I have to say, so just to toot Greg's horn a little bit, this was an
Oh, okay.
individual with, I would say, relationship crippling OCD
Yeah.
tendencies, um, to the point where their partner was having a hard time enjoying any time with them because it was spent cleaning and
Mhm.
just to try to appease their partner. And that person, after working with Greg, has come leaps and bounds. And that relationship is in such a different place than when I met them. And, I just, like I said, just to toot Greg's horn a little bit, that was phenomenal work with that individual. Whatever helped get them to where they are today, it's like a different person.
Yeah, and that's good. But there's I don't know how recently there's like other stressors in the
Oh,
form
for
of
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, but I mean, just like within the realm of what you started like addressing and to see how that's transformed is pretty incredible.
yeah. Thanks, Dave. I'm bowing out of that. That's I did what I could, and now there's unchangeable things, other human beings, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah,
provide a lot of difficulty
of
now that like
course.
can't really. Sometimes it's like what's hard for our work sometimes is like you have to send people back to a difficult situation.
What's hard about our work is we start with one issue and then we end up having to work on five others,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the, and we've both talked openly about how like we end up tending to work with people for longer durations of time. We're not like, 6 months and you're done. So in that, like, however many years that we're working with someone, there's a lot of different
yeah.
challenges that can come up in someone's life.
So
So
sometimes you got to remind them like, hey, look, when you first came here, this
I
is
do that all the time. I do
yeah,
like
yeah. Like this,
reflection sessions.
remember?
Yeah, no, I do that. I like to do that because I think it's helpful to like remember where you came from.
Yeah, I agree.
So, all right. Let's see. Where are we with this? We're talking about perfectionism.
We are.
So
Yeah.
all right. So thinking about perfectionism, it is driven primarily by internal pressures, such as a desire to avoid failure or harsh judgment. So things that tend to happen with people who are perfectionists. They tend to set unrealistically high expectations for themselves and others. They tend to be quick to find fault and be overly critical of mistakes that happen. They tend to procrastinate a project out of fear of failure. They shrug off compliments and forget to celebrate their success. Instead, they look to specific people in their life for approval and validation.
Yeah.
So, an interesting thing to think about is we have this one therapist that we've worked with both in group setting, and the question he would always ask people is, who do you see your whose eyes do you see yourself out of? And a lot of individuals will say someone influential in their life, such as like, oh, I see myself through my mom's eyes. A lot of my views of myself are kind of based on values or you know things that they stress to me or things they've said to me. So sometimes I think that can be good and sometimes that can be a real challenge if that parent maybe had really high standards or expectation or put a lot of pressure on you. So I think it's always helpful to kind of ask yourself like, well, who whose eyes am I looking at myself through? Who am I filtering all my thoughts through in order to kind of be able to even unearth some of those thoughts, understand where they came from?
Yeah, yeah, like unhook from some of that.
Yeah,
If the
100%.
So, and you know what's interesting is I hadn't thought of until you kind of mention it is the procrastination that could and when you say like perfectionism, it almost like I just thought of how it shows up in my own life. In terms of like exercise, I won't do that thing where, say you can't go to the gym for like an hour, or say you can't get like a full workout in. I mean, you
You
could
just
do something.
you just won't go at all.
Yeah, exactly. Like I won't if I can only do like a half hour or 15 minutes, it's like I won't go out at all, even though it's completely
Yeah.
illogical, where like
And
the 15 minutes is worth something.
it's like all or nothing thinking, which
It
we've
really
talked
is.
about before with cognitive just we do the cognitive distortions episode? I can't remember.
We did.
We did do a full episode on that. Yeah. So all or nothing thinking is, it's either I do the whole thing or I do none of it. And that's super rigid. It's a symptom of, I think perfectionism, but it also comes up with actually people on the spectrum tend to have a lot of all or nothing thinking. A variety of different things can lead to that. And it's not super helpful because if you think about it, yeah, 20 minutes of cardio or just even going for a walk is better than 0 minutes of cardio, not
Mhm.
going for a walk at all, right? Uh,
Like obviously,
you're
but
right.
no, but so many people like don't even. It's so hard to get that to make sense in your head, I
Yes.
guess.
This is
I know.
something that also kills like diets, it kills New Year's resolutions, just like
I
goals
had
for
a bite of ice
ourselves.
cream. I might as well have a tub
Right.
because
And
it's over.
and yeah, it's over exactly. All right, so there's three different kinds of perfectionism. The first would be self-oriented, which is imposing an unrealistic desire to be perfect onto yourself. So you're the one putting that expectation on yourself. Other oriented would be another one, which is about imposing unrealistic standards of perfection on others. So you
Mm.
expect others to be perfect. I think some that can come with like parents to their children sometimes, or maybe to a partner, things like that. Socially
Mm.
prescribed perfectionism involves perceiving unrealistic expectations of perfection from others.
And geez, where do we ever see that? I mean, that's like Instagram City, right?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. So perfection is an impossibility in reality, and when taken too far, it can lead to negative outcomes like procrastination, as we mentioned, a tendency to avoid challenges, the rigid all or nothing thinking, toxic comparisons, and a lack of creativity. So maladaptive perfectionism is often driven by fear of failure, feelings of unworthiness, low self esteem, and adverse childhood experiences. So it can often be accompanied with depression, anxiety, OCD, eating disorders, and sometimes even suicidal impulses. Um,
Yikes.
so I think
So
it's important to understand like the difference between, and I almost hate this phrase because of striving for excellence versus demanding perfection. Um, and when I say
yeah,
striving for excellence, it's like just like being the best version of yourself or doing the best in whatever it is that you're working towards.
as a
uh
guiding principle and not so much a goal.
yes, right,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
And
It's
you know
like
what's
all
funny
right,
to me?
so like with us like striving for excellence, or it would be just us doing the best version of this that we can do, and like making sure every day we put in the effort to do that.
That's yeah. So it's not perfectionism. It's like get on the ball, guys. You know what I mean? Like,
Right,
and also,
right,
there's this thing that it kind of really sounds like we're saying perfectionism, but what it really is like normalcy. Like this idea of what the collective thinks is perfect, which is what essentially is normal, which is another thing that doesn't really exist. This idea of normal. Like, there's nothing. Like, you don't want to read a book about a perfect person. You don't want to watch a movie about a perfect person because that's very uninteresting. And an uninteresting person cannot be perfect, right? So it's like a
right.
very complicated thing. It's like that's like a normal person. Like when I think of like some of the most I don't know what I'm thinking of, like a beautiful woman, right? There's an idea of what that could be, like this perfect idea in my mind maybe, or in everyone's mind in a sense, but that perfection is completely different across the spectrum. Like there's no real sort of thing to land on there. And then when you see the most beautiful people, it's typically when it's like, oh, well, that person's like kind of different looking. Oh, that person has like really like sort of exotic eyes, or maybe like looks very different from, there's almost something, or their teeth have a space, and I kind of like that a little bit, right? It's like there's things in there that would sort of escape perfectionism, but would
Mhm.
somehow be making that person closer to perfect. It's a really weird sort of thing that I'm trying to
Well,
wrap my head
you
around.
see that all the time with like models and
Yeah, yep.
all of a sudden that someone will come out and they just look so different. Like, do you know the actress Mia Goth? She was in
Yes.
X.
So
She's
know it.
very
Beautiful.
unorthodox beauty, right? Like she looks nothing like other individuals who are kind of that standard, I guess you would say, that
Yeah.
quote unquote standard. And, look at how like the attention that she gets. And because of that unorthodoxness, unorthodoxy, what's the
Yeah.
word? I
And
don't
it's
know.
like it's also like a weird kind of word that we can throw around too, because you're talking about, all right, like, so Shelley Duvall, I don't think anybody would call her like dude, does everyone know who she is? Like the woman in The Shining.
You say that, and it's so funny because I think young Shelley Duvall was absolutely gorgeous, but
So do
yeah,
I.
unconventional for sure.
So, so do I. And then here's another thing. In The Shining, for example. She was perfect.
Yep.
She was perfect for that. Like, how could anybody have been better for that? It's a weird thing. So it's like she's perfect. Oh wait, Shelley Duvall's perfect. No. So it's like we're using this word that doesn't essentially means nothing.
Yeah.
And then you're striving for something that essentially doesn't exist. And then where does that put you? It puts you lost. It's like if someone shows up to they pull up alongside of you and they're asked directions, and you say, "Yeah, of course, I'll give you directions. I used to be a mailman. I could pretty much tell you anywhere, right?" And then they're like, "Well," I'm like, "Where do you want to go?" And they're like, "I have no idea." And you're like, "Well, that's gonna be tough to get there." It's like
Yeah.
they're directionless. If you're striving for perfection, then you're just on like a treadmill, going nowhere.
Ooh. Or a hamster wheel.
Even better.
You know, uh, similar to Shelley Duvall, young Cher.
Okay.
I think she was unconventionally attractive
You
as well.
I think so too. I don't know if Cher is like unconventional. I think it was like kind of like the general consensus that Cher
Was
was.
it? I don't know.
I think so.
I
I
mean,
think
for the younger audience, you can just like type her into AI because you probably don't know who Cher is. But
yeah, dude. Cher and Shelley Duvall. It's
they're
gone,
like
dude.
they just
Everyone's
ended. They
gone.
just stopped listening.
They're gonna look at those pictures and be like, "What's wrong with these guys? They're not perfect." They're right. They're not perfect at all.
All right. So, all right, positive forms of perfectionism would involve things like setting goals, having high standards for yourself, working hard for success, being achievement oriented, things, all these things. And just the negative form is failure oriented, just
Yeah.
like fear of failure, just putting pressure on yourself because, all right, so, instead of like if you're a student and you're studying for a test, you're doing it because like you want to achieve high, you want to do well, you're doing it for success and you're thinking about the success. But if you're a perfectionist in the negative aspect of it, you're afraid that you're going to fail and you're going to let people down or you're not going to be worthy and all those thoughts are flooding your head and you probably think you're going to fail, I would assume. I've
Yeah,
seen
living your life
that so
based like
many
what
times.
you want instead of like what you want. And the reality is obviously this like as obvious as can be, but you have to fail in order to achieve.
You have
Like
to.
you have to screw up. You
Yeah,
have to screw up over and over again to get better at whatever it is you want to do. To be good at something, you have to start like being the dummy, in a sense. That's You have to
that's
humble yourself.
hey, being dummies is how we've succeeded.
That's right. Yeah. I don't know when this phase ends, but
It's a very self-deprecating
I know this is yeah.
episode.
We're like over the topping. We're not perfect. Probably like, oh, why this episode suck?
Everyone's like, oh my god, they're so full of themselves, they're just trying to evoke
Yeah,
our sympathy.
yeah. They think they're so unperfect.
Can I just
Jerks.
point out so if you're watching this on Patreon, which you should be, and if you're not, shame on you. But if you are
Hmm.
watching this, Greg has a pair of headphones on that we got, and it's amazing how much different talking to Greg right now is because he actually can hear and follow the conversation completely.
Can you imagine how different it is for me?
No, I don't even know if you noticed, but like I
I
noticed
Are
because
you
there would
kidding
be
me?
times where I would talk and you wouldn't hear what I
I just
said.
look at you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's how did
But
you do that for so long?
I don't know. Look, because it's not just here, it's been in my life, you know. Can't hear that good. And that's hard to be a therapist and not hear, you know. I can hear.
It's a good thing you don't have to
I'm bad.
respond to everything.
Yeah, I can't respond to everything. I'm pretty good at the silence. So let's talk about how you can overcome perfectionism in some ways, at least
You
try,
just
right?
flex. Did you just flex when you said that?
I did not.
I
But
did
if you
swear. Try to
but if we
overcome
get 10 more members,
perfectionism and you just
I will
flexed.
send you a poster of me flexing. Okay. Letting go, letting go of comparison. No, this is a good one actually. So to kind of like mitigate some of this perfectionism, let go of the comparison mindset. And I know that's like saying that in 2026, it's almost intrinsic, right? And everybody, you go on Instagram and you're not gonna. Comparison is the thief of joy. Thank you, Teddy Roosevelt, for telling us that long before any of the social media stuff. But like, how do you not compare yourself to people? Because in a sense, you have to compare yourself to people in a lot of ways to just sort of modify your own behavior, to learn. There's a lot of ways you have to compare yourself to people, but in a healthy way. But like looking at other people and being jealous of what they have and upset that you don't have it, or they're doing that better than I ever could. Well, that's fine because there's lots of things that people do better than me, but maybe there's some things that I can do better than them. We're trying to
And,
figure that out.
and even things we do well, someone else might still be able to do it better. Imagine if every NBA player like couldn't accept that, you know, Kobe Bryant was better than them, or like, imagine if they just if they then they would stop playing. They wouldn't be able to like have success because they would constantly be in their mind that I'm a failure because I'm not as good as these other players. Like, how would you ever be able to be on a team if you couldn't accept that I don't get as many minutes as this person who's more talented than me, even though I am still talented?
Yeah, and it's like, and still seeing your value if like there's a shortcoming somewhere. It's funny because I was the young person who they used to call me a glory hound in the Navy. I would always try to be the best at everything. And which meant that sometimes, if I'm being completely honest, if I saw someone like, even if it was for the betterment of all of us, being really good at something, it would almost make me like upset instead of happy, right?
Yeah.
And what's changed my life so much is seeing in my friends and the people that I care about, like when they do well, like I genuinely am happy, and maybe that's just something that comes with age. Uh,
Part of me
it,
thinks it does because it's easier to accept and be happy for people when you're older for whatever reason, but it is in our younger years, it does feel like there's a lot more. Well, for some people, I'm sure it's other people have had a completely different experience. But if you have a little bit of a competitive nature within you, which could have, you know, grown from any source of whatever, um, it's really hard to not have a feeling about someone else's success at times.
it is. It is. So let's get into a little bit here. We're gonna
Hold
get
on,
into.
Greg. There's a Morrissey song called what is it? We hate it when our friends become successful.
Yeah, there is. I wouldn't know. I'm not a that's Morrissey's a bit of a crybaby for me.
Wow.
I mean, the Smiths.
Yeah, I love the Smiths.
I know that checks out. You love the Cure too, Dave. I mean,
Go on,
yeah.
Greg.
Not that
Go
there's anything
on.
wrong with that. And look, sometimes when you're in the mood, you need it.
And you like
Or-
ACDC.
No, I like the Beatles. I like the Beach Boys.
Oh God, of course you do.
I like Sublime. I do. I know it's kind of
Mm.
because I'm going to be honest and be a little self-deprecating. I am like a little sucker for that kind of stuff too.
I like the Beatles. Oh,
I like the Dead. I like Grateful Dead a
of
lot.
course.
Big
Yeah.
loss.
What are some of the other most popular bands to ever live? We could just list all those
Okay.
off.
Hey, you're wow. You want to know what, Dave? You're right. And I'm gonna say something like it's like, you know, Dave is one of those people who has like, I don't know if you value this part of yourself, but like a talent for the obscure and
Mm.
the what's cool because like not a lot of people know it. That used to be kind of a thing. Maybe it still is. I don't know. But I like that about you. I like that you like if I was like, let me like what are people into right now? Or like what's like the really kind of hip thing to be into? You're the person I would go to for sure.
Well, I appreciate that. You
That's
might
for sure.
be the minority in that, but I do appreciate it.
Well,
Actually,
that's the point.
I like the way you worded that too. I have an appreciation for the obscure. I think that actually very accurately sums it up. I do love the obscure.
You
Underground is
do.
me. Yeah. Thank you.
That's you, man. Davy Underground.
Greggy Mainstream and
That's
Davey
right.
Underground.
Wait, that's not a compliment, but
It
it's
could
true.
be.
But it's true. Until it, well, I can't even say that because like I like art a lot, but I like a lot of fine art because I'm fancy like that. So it's got to be perfect. Anyways, eight reasons why perfectionism negatively impacts your mental health. Here is our stuff, right? So overthinking, obviously. So aiming for perfection can send you into this like spiral of overthinking. You become paralyzed about wondering about the what ifs and the worst case scenarios, and it can stop you from making decisions and meeting deadlines and doing the things you need to do. And instead of rising to the level of performance, which because like in reality, in the world of work, 99% of it is like showing up and doing your best. That's it, right? No one's looking for perfectionism, and you're certainly not going to find it. Um, Comparing yourself to others, like we mentioned, it's like, you know, you can't judge your worth based on other people. Otherwise, like, I mean, if you're fixating on what other people have achieved or like you don't really develop your own unique qualities. You're just kind of like a person in the back seat. Again, it's almost like Dave, it's almost like striving for perfection takes you further away from perfection. It's like you're being led by something that's taking it's like the Pied Piper leading you away from what your best the best most close to perfect version of yourself. Almost like AI,
Yeah.
right?
Because every negative outcome from perfectionism almost is like preventative of
Mhm.
actually being able to achieve the thing that you're striving for perfection for. So you're right. It really does take you as far away. And the other thing it does with this one, comparing yourself to others, it you're looking surface level, right? Everything you see is just what's on the surface, what that person wants you to see. So you're missing all the hard work, all the negative aspects of what that person went through in order to get to the point they're at. So
Yeah.
you're gleaming on something that just isn't even real because it's like I said, it's just surface level, and you're not taking into consideration that on top of that, there was all this other stuff that had to happen in order for that person to be able to get to that point. So it's setting yourself up to just feel like shit about it,
Yeah.
and it's not even realistic.
It's not even realistic. Like this being scared of like screwing everything up all the time. This, catastrophe is always looming. Um, it causes too much stress, right? And it like, can create like generalized like, anxiety disorder. Like you have to mess up. That's the thing that's the little secret that people forget. You have to mess up in order to achieve, in order to become a better version of yourself. Because through messing up over and over again, you learn to not mess up over and over. It's just something. It's messing up is the journey, isn't it? And the destination is if the destination is perfectionism, you're gonna have to mess up a lot
You
to
know,
get to this better version of yourself.
and it reminds me of The Alchemist,
I was
which
just
we keep
the
we
whole time
keep
I was
we always
yeah.
refer to it. I mean, we bring it up almost every episode. But the in The Alchemist, that's the whole point is just because you mess up doesn't mean all the other things that were options at one point or that you were interested in or all the other directions that you could have gone are suddenly no longer available. So messing up isn't the end of the world. Messing up actually sometimes creates more opportunity or allows for growth or new understanding of the situation so you can kind of move forward with a little bit more knowledge, I think.
Oh yeah, and you mess up all these times in life. This is why like as a parent, right? So I've messed up countless times. And by messing up and going through those things and finding like the roadmap out, I can provide that roadmap to other people, and my kids included, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
like because I've had to struggle through certain things, that is actually a good thing because now that I've been through it, I know the way through it.
Yeah.
If you always avoid difficulty, then then you're just going to be stuck forever. But if you embrace difficulty and learn from it and become stronger for it, it's like there's no character without adversity and difficulty. We talk about that ad nauseum. Also, perfectionism in relationships, forget it, right? I mean,
Forget about it.
forget about it. We're from Rhode Island, we can say that. Unrealistic expectations, you know, for expecting it from your partner, expecting them to act a certain way, and or expecting yourself to be a certain way for them. There's this great line in a poem, and I've mentioned it before in this podcast. I know I have, but it bears repeating because we have a lot of people who kind of get onto the new episodes but forget about the old ones, and I don't recommend that. Go back. But anyways, um, love is lost in the things that are said and not meant, and meant and not said. And if you're so afraid of being perfect, you leave all that in the dust. And that's the truest thing ever, isn't it?
That
In
was beautiful.
relationships.
Holy crap.
Yes, it
Is
is
this the
beautiful.
Valentine's episode? Because I think I just fell in love with that quote.
Yeah, I know. I'm gonna have to bring one out for the Valentine's. Dude, I already got. You know what? Spur of the moment. We should do something like why, like love songs and why there's cathartic or something like that
We
for
should
you.
just sing love songs for a whole episode.
Maybe write one and record the process.
And dedicate it to all of our listeners
That's right. That's what
by
who else would
by
you?
name.
That's right. It won't take long.
All right. So another one is putting things off because of perfectionism. So I mean, we talked about procrastination. We've talked about, how sometimes our fear of failure will cause us to do that. But I think it's really important for people to kind of understand that impact because it's a serious thing and it's adding more struggle to your life than necessary. So someone might avoid or put off starting projects due to the fear of the inability to meet these high standards. And then that leads to an increase in stress because you have this looming thing that needs to be done that you haven't started yet. And then you're also going to get this feeling of inadequacy and you're just dwelling on these negative emotions. And plus, procrastination is something I'm very familiar with, years and years of doing it in all different capacities. But especially like when it came to projects and stuff like that, I would trick myself into telling myself like, you're better when you procrastinate. You always get it done. And yeah, sure, I
Yeah.
can, but I'm not doing my best work if I'm procrastinating. And putting things off till the very end, you're struggling. You're rushing, you're anxiety, doing it with a ton of anxiety, you're not doing your best work. So that's definitely another negative aspect of this. Um, Feeling physically bad. So the stress that comes from perfectionism can actually manifest itself physically. And symptoms may include things like sleep problems, tension headaches. And then if you're dealing with those things long enough, they're going to lead to other health issues. So it's actually bad for your health.
Hmm.
Ignoring your emotional needs. So if you're striving for perfectionism constantly, you're probably also neglecting your emotional needs. And the lack of attention to those things can cause longer term mental health challenges and, things like chronic anxiety or depression. Just you got to pay attention to yourself, right?
Yeah.
Um, Also, you might find yourself getting stuck in a fixed way of thinking. We talked about like that all or nothing stuff, but also like perfectionism becomes its own mindset, and it can be really hard or to adapt to new things or have new learning experiences because you're just so focused on it has to be this way, right? And then, like you said, we're avoiding failure, we're avoiding situations that could potentially help us grow, or we're just being so resistant to allowing those moments and we're not growing as people. Perfectionism prevents growth.
It really does. That's it right there. And it's like it's also, man, doesn't it always come back to people worrying so much about the way they feel and should probably worry about more about the things that they do.
Yeah.
And what you forget is like I want to feel good. I want to feel like safe. If I try to be perfect and I screw up, I'm not going to feel good. It's feel. What do you want to do? You can't worry about how you feel all the time. You have to worry about the things that you want to do. Do those things and then let the feeling catch up with you. That's about
Yeah.
it. Um, so therapy can obviously help with this if you're dealing with, we can show you all the ways you're not perfect. That's what therapy is all about, right? Um, Obviously, you know, you're looking for meaning in life. You're not looking to be have a perfect life. You're looking because ultimately, what would that look like? If you ask yourself that question, like, I want to have a perfect life. Well, what does that look like? Hopefully, that means I'm going to be sad sometimes. I'm going to be happy
Yeah.
sometimes. I'm going to be
That
joyful. I'm scared,
right.
right? So it's like
So
this me. Go ahead,
that's
Dave.
like we've talked about that before too. I feel
Yeah.
like you have to have the range of emotions. That's the purpose of life, is
Mhm.
having those ups and those downs. And if you only have one, if you were to eliminate any downs, you'll never appreciate those ups.
No.
They become pointless, they become redundant. And
And instead of having a meaningful life, you have a meaningless life.
right.
It's very predictable.
Yeah.
And perfectionism would be very predictable. And all meaningful life, all that really means is paying attention to the right sorts of things. That's all. And the, don't pay attention to things you're not the best at. That's okay. It's okay that you're not great at everything. Maybe pay attention to the things that, you know, you, that bring you joy
Sure.
or make you happy or whatever. I don't know. Obviously, CBT is a not perfect, but up there with the forms of therapy to sort of challenge this you know, I guess to use a therapeutic word, maladaptive thinking. I think ACT
Yeah.
is always going to be something because it's like accepting, right?
Yeah.
Accepting these imperfections, realizing there's things that you're not going to be able to change, and commit to the actions that align with your values, instead of striving for these unreachable standards. Some people this really would be helpful for, like, right, like therapy. If you're struggling with perfectionism, it's taking its toll on your mental health. You can speak to someone like Dave or I, and we can kind of like, tailor a treatment to figure out what your actual goals are and navigate these like emotional ups and downs that you're going to have and help you break free from some of this stuff. Um, Perfectionism, ironically and paradoxically, is something that causes a lot of low self-esteem. So achieving things can feel good, but when the bar is set unrealistically high, so that you're not able to attain any goals, like myself, if my goal is always like, if you don't go to the gym for an hour, you are a loser, right? Basically, I that's how I feel sometimes. That's not good for my self-esteem. I should say if you work out every day, maybe 5 minutes a day, that would be the win. And if you do more, good for you, right? It's like setting more. Setting your metrics for a success. It's there's a great sort of story about this guy, the Megadeth story with Dave Mustaine. He was so sad that he got kicked out of a band because his band was really going places. And that band was Metallica, right?
Mm.
And they really did go places. So when they were like having all the success, he was like pretty depressed. But like what he doesn't mention, or what like his metrics were weird because he had a successful band of his own with millions of fans, right? Megadeth or whatever it was. Not really into that world too much, but it's really about like seeing that what you've accomplished, not what kind of fell short in your life. I think that's it, right?
I think so too, Greg.
All right.
Self-compassion too seems like a big piece of this. It's to stop, like, there's no real reason or benefit to, insulting yourself, telling yourself you're no good or a loser. Like, we can hear that stuff from plenty of other people in our lives. We don't need to tell it to ourselves. That's just like very unhelpful.
Yes, it is. And there's, I think there's some stuff here, like questions you can ask yourself to kind of like see if your that mentality is a perfectionist mentality. Like, do you base your self-esteem on your achievements? I mean, that's not the only thing that sort of defines a person, right?
Yeah.
Do you believe that perfect helps you avoid criticism? Do you ride a roller coaster of emotions and self-worth depending on how on track you are with your target? So it's like really about this, like being on track, right?
Yep.
If you reach a goal, do you discount your achievement and double down on setting even loftier goals? Like just these kinds of things. Um, Even imposter syndrome. We've talked about that. We did a whole episode on that. That's kind of what we're talking about here. Um, because that can
So
be really hard.
yeah, and one of the things that I've seen with perfectionism is, so, a person has like maybe this one thing that they feel gives them value. and they put so much emphasis on it, and maybe it's because historically that's just something they've always been good at, and they received a ton of positive praise for it, or maybe it was something that like their parents told them was the most important thing, so then they've like overestimated how much importance it should have. But for whatever reason now in their life, like that's the thing that gives them value. And
Yeah.
if anything, you know uh challenges it, then they feel like they're worthless. They feel like, they're no longer worthy. I have this woman I work with that, grades are so important, her intelligence is so important, and a lot of that is like pressure her parents, I think, put on her to achieve good grades, and that's probably the place where she got the most positive feedback in her life. And now anytime she's in an environment where she feels like, oh, someone else here might be smarter than me, or oh, if I don't get these certain grades, it just like it causes her self-esteem to plummet, it causes her to spiral. She has this like standard for perfectionism with this, but it's because of this feeling like if I'm not worthwhile in this, I have nothing else. So I think it's important for people to explore, if you just have this one area that's really causing you that much issue, like really I mean, I would encourage you to talk to someone and try to explore your values, and like what else is there about you that can help you see that you're more than just this one thing. You're more than just like your intelligence. You're more than just your good
Also,
looks.
what's funny is, and you're about to talk about looks, but what's kind of interesting is like in terms of like as I'm hearing you describe that and like imposter syndrome and like we all are kind of faking it in everything we do at all times until we kind of get a handle on it. So no matter what you do, like if you want to be something, you kind of have to pretend to be that thing.
Yeah.
And that's going to be, imposter, of course you're an imposter. I had this patient say to me one time which I thought was perfect. Um, when in terms of like in regard to imposter syndrome and kind of faking it till you make it, quote unquote, which we've talked about in the past, that has its holes, it also has it's very true in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But even when you're going to sleep at night, have you ever heard this? you
No.
when you're going to go to sleep at night, the way you even go to sleep is you pretend to go to sleep, and then you go to sleep.
Yeah.
Isn't that kind of
That
like
is funny. I
you
like
you
that.
sort of pretend to be sleeping,
Yeah.
and then next
And then
thing
you
you
fall
know,
asleep.
you're
Yeah.
sleeping,
Right.
right? So that's like everything in life. Dave, when we were interns, we literally had to go pretend to be a therapist,
I
and like
I know. I
I
tell people that all the time. It's like you guys don't understand. Like we got thrown into the
like
fire. It
yeah,
was
it was
crazy.
like oh. So, anyways, right? We're kind of doing
So we just had a little malfunction and we're trying to
yeah.
gather ourselves. Okay. All right. So perfectionism can manifest in a variety of ways. It can impact body image. So that can often be associated with perfectionism. One of the big things, and we've touched on this already, but like social media and sports even can really play with the way that we see ourselves, and kind of set expectations of how we're supposed to look, because they present us with these like idealized bodies, right? Athletes and all the Instagram models and things like that. It kind of gives us this idea of like, oh, that's kind of the goal of what we should be trying to achieve. And so for some people, their self-esteem can really be tied heavily into their own appearance. And then, couple that with some, the unhealthy social comparisons, with, social media and sports, like I said, and lack of scrutiny, which I think is important to acknowledge. So how much effort those people put into their bodies, how much time they have to put into that, how many resources they have around them. Like I always think about in that aspect, these actors who are preparing for a role, and suddenly they take off their shirt and they got this like all these abs, and they've transformed from an actor that you knew,
Yeah.
and then suddenly they're like ripped for this new role. They get like special trainers and
There's a team
chefs.
involved in that.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
team to get that person prepared for that role. And we don't think about that stuff when we just glance at it and we're like, oh man, I could
We
never be
also don't think
that.
about the lighting and this and that and the other thing. And it's like what's funny is it's all kind of tying back into that like AI perfectionism. Like, do you really want
Sure.
to be this? Like, what goes into that? Is this person happy? Like, you're right. The lack of scrutiny and the lack of information that we have tied to this stuff, it's like unbelievable. The people you don't really see people that look like that out in the world. It's
No, and
like,
if you do, I mean, again, it's like, well, how did they get to be that way? And like, how much do you have that time in your life to even be able to achieve that? So, yeah, I mean, I think that's an important thing. And, because of the way people feel about their bodies, sometimes they'll impose like these really, restrictive diets and, spend all this money and dedicate all this time to try to achieve this almost unattainable body type. And sometimes people don't even think about their own body types when they're trying to achieve this. And that drives me nuts
yeah.
when, you hear someone that's like so down and out because of how they feel, like how they see themselves. And they're not even really acknowledging, like, beyond the fact that, like, you know, you're struggling with this, you also have a certain body type that might not even make that achievable. So we got to kind of revamp and think about, like, for your body type, what's even a realistic goal. And so I know that can also be kind of hurtful to some people because some people are, wish they had different body types, but you also have to have a level of acceptance of who you are. Um, so yeah,
And what to think about that? Yeah, no, I know. And then like imagine if your whole identity is tied to the way you look too. So it's like this person's like that's not a forever thing, and that's sort of a vapid existence in a lot of ways too. So I mean, there's good and everything's on a spectrum of like what's
yeah,
good and what's perfect and what's not. It's just kind of all meaningless in a way to strive for these sorts of things. So it's like striving for perfectionism is just it's almost like being driven by those same like by a cognitive distortion or an emotion, an unwanted emotion, unwanted intrusive thought. It's the same sort of idea. Like that sort of impulse can be there, but you have to not let that be the predominant driver of your behavior and the things that you do because it's leading you nowhere. That's
yeah,
that's essentially that's essentially it.
really, it really is. I mean, and
Eh,
I guess the rest of this stuff is all kind of like understood. Like,
Redundant, right? Like we
yeah,
wrote a lot of notes here, and like a lot of it's sort of like the same thing over and over again. And but the reality, like what we're talking about here, it's like black and white thinking. Should this? Should that? Um, y- all leads to procrastination and a pause in life. The more you step towards perfection, the further you step away from like the the perfect version of yourself, quote unquote, which is imperfect you,
yeah.
right?
And
Perfectly imperfect.
and if because of your perfectionism, you're avoiding things like social gatherings or places where maybe you feel like, the whole social anxiety thing where you feel like people are going to be evaluating you negatively or things like that. If you're avoiding things because of that, you're never going to achieve anything great because you're never giving yourself the opportunity. So it's like we said earlier, and I know the whole point's getting redundant, but it's perfectionism actually blocks you from achieving almost anything because
Hmm.
it makes you avoid, it makes you, you know, struggle with anxiety and things that impact your performance. There's just so many layers to this. So overall, I guess the best thing that we can really say is like you really have to kind of see how perfectionism, if you're struggling with it, how it's impacting you and determine, is it benefiting me to have these thoughts, or am I hindering my own progress? Because as we
Yeah.
said, there might be some people who say like, oh, my perfectionism is actually helpful to me because it pushes me, it motivates me. And if that's you, then that's wonderful. But if you're actually finding yourself being stuck and hindered because of your perfectionism, that's where you need some help.
Yeah, I mean, just evaluate, is this urge bringing me closer or further from who I want to be? It's kind of just
100%.
simple as that, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I guess that's perfectionism. It ain't perfect. This isn't a perfect episode, but
It
hopefully it's all right.
it's funny because as we're talking about perfectionism, I don't know why, but narcissistic personality disorder
Sure.
keeps coming in my head. Because I start to think about like the insecurity that individuals who struggle with that feel, and like the imposter syndrome stuff, and like that desire to you know, kind of put on a show, like show people what they want people to see, but inside they actually don't truly feel it. It's
Mm.
kind of it kind of manifests itself opposite of perfectionism because what we're talking about with perfectionism is actually like you almost avoid everything. But with narcissistic personality disorder, I almost feel like you would just kind of push yourself almost with an arrogance
Yes. Yeah.
to actually no be in the mix, to be out there doing the thing, right? Isn't that, do you kind of
To
agree with
appear
that?
perfect, right?
To
Like
appear
of course,
perfect.
it's like driven by insecurity, of course,
Right.
um, but trying to appear perfect by making those around you, by pointing out the imperfections in those around you, which you could do
Oh, yeah,
which you could
that's,
do to everybody, right?
see, that's a that I'm glad you just added that because I wasn't really thinking about that. But yeah, you would be putting people down around you almost to um elevate your own status. Whereas in perfectionism, I almost feel like you lower your own status
And
because
elevate
you
others.
and elevate others. Yeah. All right.
Yes.
So thank you for that.
Interesting. Little
That was good.
sweet.
I
Yeah.
like
All right.
that
Well, yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Okay. We're there.
because I was thinking of Patrick Bateman from American Psycho and
Yes, of course you were.
with narcissistic personality disorder, obviously. And that's exactly it. He is constantly trying to elevate himself by putting others down or killing them. And but so he's not really a perfectionist, although he is striving for perfection. He never would avoid anything. He would just go for it, right? So he's more the
Right.
narcissistic versus the perfectionist.
And I think we probably mentioned him in the episode of
We
narcissistic
did for sure.
personality. So,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
right.
Okay. All right, everybody. Hopefully this was a helpful episode. Actually, as we're doing this, I'm like thinking of a few patients I work with. I'm going to be sharing this episode with them because I think they could benefit from it. So hopefully they'll listen and get some help. But if anyone else is out there that found this helpful, share your thoughts. Send them over to us. Get on the Patreon, chime in, start, write to us, whatever. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Actually, this was a listener request too, from Kate, who actually requested this like a while ago. So we're just getting around to it now. It's been on the list for quite a while. So
Is
hopefully
Kate on
Kate's.
Patreon?
Nope, Kate. It was on. Well, she emailed us actually for this, but I
Okay.
think she might follow us on Instagram too. Hopefully, she still listens. So if she does, I hope you appreciate this episode. And yeah, everybody else, make sure you get on Patreon. Please leave a review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you can. And yeah, we'll see you next week. And there'll be another bonus episode coming out this week. So if you're on Patreon, make sure you get on that tier so you can get the bonus episodes. And yeah, we've been pumping them out. So
Popping them out.
all right, we'll see you next week. Everyone have a good night. See ya.